Hello, this is episode 2 in the 3-part video series on geometrical inversion variations in the Schillinger system of musical composition. Whereas the first part discussed isolated melodies, this tutorial adds the element of 4-part harmony. You'll see the effect of swapping parts in the melody with accompaniment setting, how to improve the bass part, and you'll discover the nearest neighbor voice leading technique. The Schillinger System of Musical Composition context is discussed in part 1 in the series. The subject of this tutorial series is variation of music through geometrical inversion. In part 1 you saw the creation of longer melodic continuities using a combination of the original, retrograde and inversion forms. I used a diagram to illustrate the process steps. In this episode we will add 4-part harmony to a given lead melody. You'll see what inversion implies for the harmony, plus the set of part position permutations. Then I'll demonstrate techniques for improving the bass part and the harmony voice leading. You may support this tutorial channel by either subscribing or by making a PayPal donation on my website. This section is about the use case of melody with accompaniment. The Schillinger system context is discussed in part 1 in more detail. The system consists of 12 books. And we are focusing on Book 3, Chapter 1, about music variation through geometrical inversion. Part 1 presented the 4 fundamental forms: original, inversion, retrograde and retrograde-inversion. These may be combined to create a continuity. Schillinger frequently uses a generalization approach, which here means that now we will add harmony to the setting. Let's have a look at the example phrase, a combination of melody and harmony. The source material is a lead melody over 4-part diatonic harmony derived from a 7-pitch diatonic scale. We use the scale introduced in part 1, shown here in original and inversion form. The source melody consists of a 9 measures long phrase, also discussed in detail in part 1. Next we put 4-part harmony under this melody. Schillinger calls this melody with accompaniment. I've shown the diatonic chord labels at the top. This example has a number of characteristics. The example opens and closes on the tonic degree chord. There's a variable tension since we use a mix of basic triads S5 and extended chords up to S11. There are root and inversion position chords. The root cycles shown at the bottom are a mix of positive and negative root cycles. We have limited cadential quality. Note the negative root cycle in the closing cadence. Find a number of appoggiaturas and suspensions in the top harmony part in measures 4 to 7. There's overall opening contrary motion between outer parts, that is, ascending melody, descending bass. The colored arrows mark the voice leading and dissonance handling, including a few suboptimal leaps. These harmony aspects are discussed extensively in the many video tutorials about Schillinger diatonic harmony on this channel. Here are a few references. The example will undergo inversion of both melody and harmony. Strict geometrical inversion implies mirroring the setting in the pitch domain about a pitch axis, here the tonic degree C. This yields the melody in the lowest part, whereas the original bass now is in the lead. Each harmony part is inverted separately. Forgive my quality control slip in measure 3, where the F natural in part 3 should have been an A flat. The overall top-down voice stacking is part 1, 3, 2, 4, then melody, but you'll find local deviations to obtain better balance. Have a listen to this inversion setting. Notice a number of features. The idiom sounds like a modal variant of the original. The new bass part, the inverted melody, has the busiest rhythm. There are many chord inversions, in particular the closing on the second inversion F minor over C. The carefully prepared and resolved appoggiaturas and suspensions are now ruined, so voice leading has deteriorated. There still is opening contrary motion, but we have obtained an unnatural sounding setting. The second geometrical variation operation is the retrograde reversal in the time domain. Here we also introduce the next degree of freedom in this Schillinger system technique, that is, changing the stacking order of the melody and harmony parts. We put the melody in the lead, but there's a change in the accompaniment. The top-down voice stacking is melody, part 3, 2, 1, 4. This yields a more open voicing. There's a number of changes, a consequence of the time reversal operation. Strict rhythm retrograde yields suboptimal rhythmic patterns in the parts, which now are busier at the start, not a good and natural melody characteristic. There is closing contrary motion between outer parts. Obviously, all root cycle patterns, voice leading and dissonance handling have also reversed, significantly affecting the original design. As I said in part 1, the retrograde variation sounds more remote from the original than the easier to detect pitch domain inversion, where the time domain characteristics will not change. The fourth operation is pitch domain inversion of the original, followed by retrograde operation. The order of operations is relevant and is labeled as RI. Also, I used a different voice stacking permutation, with the melody M now in the middle part, and keeping the bass part as the lowest voice. Part 2 is now in the lead. I used strict reversal of the original rhythm. The result is a dense setting, with a somewhat somber mood in a minor mode. Note the diminished fifth leap in the lead in the opening measures. The setting also has strata harmony character. I avoid overlap between the melody part in the mid-low register and the neighboring harmony parts. Watch these videos for an introduction to Schillinger strata harmony. We completed the set of 4 geometrical inversion variation operations on the combination of melody and harmony, while introducing the technique of variable positions, that is, the swapping and reordering of parts, yielding a new vertical stacking order. This also has variation potential, as we may use combinations of the 24 possible position permutations of the 4 harmony parts, shown here in diagram as colored rectangles. When also taking the position of the melody into account, the permutation set size increases to 120. Let's have a closer look at the harmony element undergoing geometrical inversion. We start from a 7-pitch diatonic scale, the E Phrygian modal scale, where E is the tonic degree. The inversion form is the E Ionian scale, regular E major. We create an original form with 4-part diatonic harmony in the E Phrygian mode. There's variable tension between triads S5 and extended ninth chords S9. See the labels above the staff. The root cycle pattern shown below the staff contains many positive cycles, R3, R5 and R7, a passing G6-4 group at the start, and a strong plagal closing cadence. I took care of correct voice leading with lots of smooth stepwise motion, plus preparation and resolution of dissonant chordal functions. The resulting musical idiom is a serene chorale setting, reminiscent of ancient music. When applying strict geometrical inversion to this 4-part diatonic harmony, the result is a progression in the A Lydian mode. I'll point out the features of this setting. The original bass part is now in the lead. Thus we obtain many chord inversion positions, including the opening and closing chord, which are the first inversion position triad A over C sharp. Positive and negative root cycles have swapped with now poor closing cadence quality. Frequently we have wasted the careful dissonant chordal function preparation and resolution. There are wide intervals between now top part P1 and the next lower part P2, while there is close position voicing of the 3 lower parts. Listen to this unbalanced harmony setting, where the lead seems detached from the lower parts. The closing chords to me sound like a deceptive cadence. Is there something we can do to improve this setting, the result of the strict geometrical inversion operation? In the diagram we are at the step in the middle, where we have the option to reorder the parts and use a different stacking. Swapping a number of parts is equivalent to a different permutation in the set of 24 possibilities. We choose an option that yields an improved setting, shown here at the bottom. Now we are opening and closing the A Lydian setting with A major triads in root position, which achieves a more stable harmony. Also, there's better balanced vertical part distribution. Note the more open voicing setting, in particular in the second half of the phrase. We have improved the flow of the bass part. However, nothing has changed in the suboptimal lead part, and we still have poor cadential quality and dissonance handling. So we take another step in our efforts to improve the geometrical inversion form of the original 4-part harmony. This is the use of nearest note voice leading, instead of an overall, a global part swapping, that is, the use of a different part stacking permutation. We do this locally and occasionally, when moving from one chord to the next. Starting from the setting with improved bass part, we modify the setting locally, in the sense that we eliminate a number of voice leading leaps and replace these by moving to the nearest neighboring part, thus obtaining a smoother, more stepwise voice leading. I've marked these instances in the score. Note nearest note voice leading for the combination of parts 1 and 2 in measures 3, 4, 6, 7, and for part 3 and part 4 in measures 10 to 11 and 13 to 14. The result is a more balanced harmony setting as a geometrical inversion of original diatonic 4-part harmony. In summary, remember that the subject of this Schillinger System tutorial series is obtaining musical variation through geometrical inversion. In this episode we apply the 4 fundamental forms to a combination of melody and harmony, and then look at options for improving the harmony setting. All examples were in the diatonic 4-part harmony system. The retrograde operation yields a harder to recognize variation of the original setting than the inversion, which has a different modal character. The strict geometrical inversion operations for a melody with accompaniment could be improved through the use of a different position, a different vertical part stacking permutation. The melody returns to the top or lands on any middle part. For the harmony alone, there are 24 position options with more open or closed position character. The harmony setting in inversion was improved by part swapping to obtain a better bass part, preferably with more stable chords at opening and closing. Another vertical chord balance improvement option is the nearest note voice leading approach that locally modifies the part spacing and reduces the number of wide leaps. Hopefully you found something useful and inspiring in this video. In the third episode, we'll create a continuity of melody with harmony using the techniques from the 2 earlier episodes. Here's the usual call to press the like button and subscribe to the channel. Support for my tutorial production efforts, which are based on human intelligence exclusively, is most welcome. The link in the description below points to the PayPal donation button on my website. There you will also find more content and a collection of ebooks. Thanks for watching.